Welcome everyone, the distinguished speakers and the participants to our Zoom panel discussion, which is hosted by IOD Foundation in association with their sustainability partner SDG Chaupal and their media partner Blitz India. My name is Namrata, and today we have gathered to discuss the global issue, food loss and waste, addressing the theme, building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable food systems from production to consumption, and how we can contribute in achieving SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production, target 3, aiming to achieve halving per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels and reducing food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses by 2030. Before we get started, I want to mention if the participants have any questions or comments, kindly leave them in the chat box, which will be monitored by me. Ladies and gentlemen, the Q&A round will take place at the end of the panel discussion, and I'll be taking those questions on your behalf. In the year 2020, the United Nations General Assembly designated September 29 as the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste. The goal of this day is to raise awareness around the globe regarding the problem of food loss and waste and seek out possible and tangible solutions at every level. And this webinar is held to address exactly the same. As we proceed ahead with the discussion, I would like to introduce and welcome our eminent speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Pradeep Chaturvedi, Vice President of IOD Foundation. He's been associated with the food industry as an advisor at Food and Agriculture Organization, that is FAO, and is also the former chairman at the Institutions of Engineer, Delhi. Next, we have with us is Mr. Bharat Arshaba Dasa, National President and Trustee of the Akshay Patra Foundation. Akshay Patra Foundation is dedicated towards addressing classroom hunger across the country, and Mr. Dasa has been directly involved with the operations and projects in Delhi NCR, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Bihar. We have with us Dr. Nilesh Lele as our next panelist. He's the first generation entrepreneur, founding and the managing director of Exelon Food Bio Advisors Private Limited. Dr. Nilesh is also the co-founder of Food Tech Pathshala, an organization which aims at providing updated food industry knowledge to all the professionals and the students. Our next panelist, Dr. Smriti Pava, is a doctorate in public nutrition. She has also been associated with a number of nutrition improvement initiatives while working with Pratham Education Foundation, FSSAI, ICMR, MOHFW, World Bank, Intra Health Intel, etc., to name a few. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Sujit Ranjan, Associate Director at Tata Trusts. Dr. Ranjan has been associated with the public health sector for more than 2 decades now and has worked extensively as the Executive Director of the Coalition for Food and Nutrition Security. Now I would like to invite Mr. Chaturvedi to introduce IOD Foundation and share his views on the issue of food loss and waste and how it is impacting the people and the planet. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to open this webinar. I'm really delighted to see that you have been able to invite distinguished speakers from different areas that really affect the food availability and the food waste. I mean, we have Mr. Das, who is really leading the food availability and trying to find out how we can reach out the food. The Sujit Ranjan, Dr. Sujit Ranjan is an expert on public health, which is a second important element. We have Dr. Smriti Pava, who is specialized on public nutrition, and we look forward to her inputs on how this has helped remove hunger and malnutrition from the country. And the last but not the least, we have Dr. Nilesh Lele, who is been on the advisory on startups. And nowadays, it is the startups which are really making the change. During the last 3 years, we have seen during the pandemic, when people were going hungry, they are being affected. These were the startups which really played very important role. Needless to say, Akshaya Patra has played a very significant role and really reached out food to where all the needy people were there. But many startups that came up, they needed help, and it's persons like Dr. Lele who has been able to really put them all on the thing. Now, coming to the topic, I had now I think I must have been from 77, virtually about 45, more than 45 years. I've been involved into this sector. I've been associated very closely. I still remember we are talking about this UN conference of 2019, which has asked us to look into this aspect of food loss and waste. Let me tell you, it is not in 2019, but it was in 1979 when the FAO had the General Assembly, and all the prime ministers from around the world came together, and they decided that we had it was called the WOCAD, the World Congress on Agriculture Reforms. And that Congress decided that there's too much of hunger, there's too much of malnutrition, and all over effort is to be done in every front, on every front in technological aspects. We had to start seeing that how we can improve our productivity, but then how can we improve the storage and avoid the wastage of the food. So as a matter of fact, it has been felt that the whole UN system has been putting all effort into last almost 50 years, trying to see what it is. Let me just tell you now, we have the figure of 826 now here in these documents that they indicate. We want to reduce it to half by 2030 when the SDGs will be attained. Let me tell you that immediately after the first World Food Day we had in 1981, there was a global conference in Rome. And at that time, it was proposed that they estimated there were about 850 plus million people whom they thought that we had to take care of them. When we reached 1995 at the World Food Summit, the number was the hungry and the malnutrition was 880. Actually, the number increased, and then again there was an effort that how can we halve the number? And there was a big debate, and everyone said, "Look here, what has the FAO done?" And someone got a brilliant idea. He just said, "You just imagine if FAO had not taken all these steps for last more than 20 years, where would your number have been? This 880 that we are saying now could have been much more than almost double of it." So you find as the populations increase, the exact number of the people which will go hungry and malnutrition also has been, the number has been static, but the percentage has really reduced. So the world has really overcome. One has to look at that aspect. And let me tell you, the organization that four of you experts are representing here, these are the kind of organizations which have played a very significant and a very important role worldwide. During the early 90s, there was a trend when all UN projects used to be at least $100,000, and they said that we will not go less than that because administratively that doesn't work out. But after a great discussion, they said, let's try with smaller projects and give funding even at $5,000 and see with smaller organizations what can be done. And you believe me, that this is in the decade of 90s, they found that the impact of the smaller projects was far more cumulatively than the projects that were being done with only the larger amounts. So there's a role the government has played, but there are a role by organizations and experts of those who are participating here. They have played around, not only in our country, but around the world. You've gone through all these reports, and it has done a tremendous amount of the role and the confidence with which all these professionals have come out is really significant. We need many things that need to be done. Now, let me tell you, we are just saying that all these 2030 goals, they also say that we will increase the income of the farmers by double. Now, people think that you are doubling the farmers' income as compared to here. But in our country, we say that it is only 65% of the income of the farmer that comes from agriculture. So when the Prime Minister says that we'll double the income of the farmers by 2025, all that he's really meaning is that 65 should be doubled to 130. And then the remaining, if the other earnings that he does, he may do it. So if you can go on up to about 150 to 160, you're really double the farm income, because we are talking on the farm income. One must realize that farmers don't rely only on the income of the farmer or from the farming, but they also do things which are of a different nature. Now we have rightly so that our agenda item, the SDG agenda item 12 really focuses on the topic that we are talking right now. But we can't ignore the agenda item number, the goal, the SDG goal 2 and various items under it. Now SDG goal 2 talks of end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Now on goal 12, we are linking it. We're trying to see how these food waste is also affecting our climate change, how we make our processes climate resilient. But then if we link goal 2 with goal 12, then you find that you're having a picture in totality. And then you can find who all are the organizations that will really go in and will help. Now you're aware that with Reggie Matthew, who is the Secretary General of the IOD Foundation, a one-man army which has done a great job to really motivate all of us that IOD Foundation should be serving, emerging with the support of the Institute of Directors, which is well known on the management side. There are various aspects of the management concepts that we are really implementing into the IOD Foundation's program. So far, IOD Foundation has been in existence for almost 3 years, and we have, whereas we say that our basic aim is to increase the capability of every person in distress or in difficulty, lead to the inclusive development, make him self-sufficient, build his skills, build his managerial capabilities. But during this COVID period has given us also an opportunity as to how our approach has to be empathetic. That means we have to keep the man, human-centric development that we have to talk about. We couldn't be talking only of the management practices, relying or meeting the legal requirements and other things. But we have to see that is our action, every action, going to help the common man? Whether our management practices, whether we are talking of supply chains, or we are talking of the technologies that we're doing, everything has got to be human-centric, and everything has to be leading to an inclusive growth and with diversity involved. Now, IOD Foundation has worked with these concepts, and therefore they're trying to work with all the agencies that we could possibly do. And thanks to Matthew once again, he has been able to do a tremendous job even in the period when the people were afraid to go out and work with the public. We had programs on health, we had programs on nutrition, and we also have programs on building skills of the persons who are in need. I'm sure that this program will carry us far ahead of where we are now, with the collaboration of the agencies that we are, the two agencies, the Blitz India and the SDG Chopal, with whom we have been continuously working, and Akshaya Patra Foundation with Tata Sons, Tata Trust, and all the organizations that we are working with. We continue to strengthen, improve our collaboration, see how we will try our best to contribute into this area, because our expertise lies in really income generation, improving creating wealth for the people, and we'll try to put in all our effort into it with collaboration with you all experts and with the agencies that have been mentioned. We'd like to remove hunger, poverty, malnutrition from our country also, and then slowly go out and help others. Thank you very much. I must thank you all for joining this in this effort. IOD Foundation is always available anytime that you want. we'll be very happy to do whatever we can do to improve our conditions. And once again, thanks to Matthew and to Namrata for launching this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening address. Now I would like to open the floor for the panel discussion. We would like to start with each panelist to share their experience of the industry and role their organization is playing in mitigating food loss and waste. Mr. Dasa, we would request you to share your views on that. Please unmute yourself, sir.
So, a very good afternoon, late afternoon to all of you, and happy to be here and to discuss one of our cherished goals of Akshaya Patra. See, Akshaya Patra is dedicated to working on eradicating of malnutrition and hunger. That was the primary purpose. It was done with this pious hope, which was ISKCON's founder, Srila Prabhupada's hope. That's how it was started. And we are now currently feeding close to about 2 million children every day in about 65 locations pan-India in 14 states. So we are contributing towards one of the main SDGs of zero hunger, and that is one of our main missions of Akshaya Patra. This is the brief background of what Akshaya Patra is doing. And now coming to this topic of today, food loss and waste. In fact, this is a very important point we should be discussing. Based on some statistics I have with me here, so it is said that close to about 1.3 gigatons of food, that is produced is wasted. This is the 2017 statistics as per UN. And 1 gigaton, just to give you an example, 1 gigaton is a billion tons. So 1.3 gigatons. See, look at the colossal wastage that is happening in the food after the food is produced. And if you want to understand the volume of this itself, because the numbers are not, the zeros many times we can't appreciate. 1 ton is about 127 large plastic bins which you see. So which means 1.3, that many, see 127, that much food is wasted. So it is a very important aspect which we have to focus on. It's good that we are today discussing this on food loss and wastage, and how the first fundamental thing itself of this is that we practically feed the whole world. There won't be any hunger if food wastage is curbed, and you bring down the food wastage to zero. Maybe zero may be very utopian in mind, but I'm sure we should start with that goal. Also it is said that, see, in this aspect of this food wastage, about 1/5 of it comes from people's refrigerators and plates. 1/5 of this wastage comes from their plates, and the balance 1/3 of this, the 1/3 of this edible food also comes from because of the wastage in the food production and the in the agriculture, like he said, the logistics, transportation, be it storage areas. So that is also wastage contributing to it is there. So what we can see from this is how do we control this food wastage? It can be done practically first at the individual level also, and at looking at programs which will utilize the mass level of grain production that is happening. So these are the two ways to address this. The one thing is the volume itself is enough. What we are seeing is an action point enough to eradicate hunger. It's a very major point of eradicating hunger. It's a myth in one sense to say that food is not produced enough. But food is enough, but just that the systems within our thing is not making the food reach to everyone. That is the real aspect of this problem of hunger. And hunger is one of the very what I would call it as a silent killer. Billions of people die because, see, if there is a small aircraft crashing, then there is a big news, right? There'll be 200 people dying. That will be a big headlines everywhere. But hunger kills every day millions of people. It is not 1 or 200 people in a flight. No, hunger is killing so many people, but we don't recognize it because that's why it's called silent killer. That no headlines are there on this, right? No headlines come on. Oh, so many people. There's not much awareness in one sense why it is contributing. We can know the gnawing pain of hunger if we just skip 2 meals in a day. We can make out the pain, right? So this hunger is contributing to further malnutrition, and malnutrition diseases come up, and because people die. This is happening all over the world, not just it's happening in developed countries, it's happening in developing countries, in underdeveloped countries, everywhere. This is a common phenomenon. Why? Because food is not distributed fully to all the society. So this is the problem. Now coming down to a solution. What is the solution? Solution aspect of it is that we have found that the midday meal, of which we are a major partner, is a very good scheme by which there is so much of food grains produced, and the government buys it at paying a minimum support price to the farmers, and many of those food gets destroyed in the warehouses. So tons of each child is in India about 130 13 crore children are fed midday meals through the various co-brands. We are a small contributor. We are also in one sense a very small. We are feeding about 2 million children every day. That's about so that's all we do. But the government itself, through its midday meal program, is feeding 13 crore children every day. So that's one good way that this policy has aided in ensuring that there is equitable distribution of the grains. This is helping the poorest of the poor because they go to the government schools, and if they get a meal, this meal adds to their making them come out of this hunger cycle. So this is I feel this is just not enough. There are many more programs which can be thought of where the wasted food grains which come to the production can be used for social welfare. There the government has to contribute, individuals can contribute. Coming down to the Akshay Patra itself, what it's doing, we ensure in our production. See, when there's a production of food, there's a lot of loopholes can come due to which production of food can be wasted. So what do? We ensure that there is we know Akshay Patra production systems. And try to ensure that we have proper data from the schools where we are feeding, so that we get the live data. We have data for historical data of how many number of children will come to the school on a day. We also have an estimate. We have arrived at a proper estimate so that we don't waste the food. We produce as much as required, and we don't less also produce. So we are trying to balance that through the process. So food wastage is a very, we try to ensure that there is no food wastage. But in spite of all kinds of systems, always there is a challenge in this numbers coordination. So whatever food is wasted, that is we keep it less than 0.1% of the production of our food, which we do in our kitchens. That is one way we are very conscious of it. And any food that is wasted, we use it for biogas generation, feeding to cows. That way we don't allow that also to be wasted. So that way we are a very food, very conscious of food, no food loss and wastage. Our organization is meant for that. And as I said, it is in line with our overall mission. We want to focus, we want to have a world without hunger and malnutrition. With this, I summarize my points. I think we can take up more points as we go on. Is that good? Is that fine, or should I continue?
Yeah, I think Yeah, we can go ahead and we can take up the questions as we move ahead. Thank you so much for your stirring address. We are totally moved by the work your organization is doing, and we are really thankful that such organizations exist. Uh, Moving on, now I would like to invite Mr. Ranjan to share his organization's views and approach on this particular topic.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for having me today in this program. And today we are very important topic and very close to each one of us, and especially for me, like I'm representing Tata Trust, where the nutrition is the prioritized as an important work area, and it's Tata Trust is not like not mere a donor, rather the effective catalyst, I should say, leading the fight against malnutrition. So this topic is very close to us, and we know that as per the ancient Indian wisdom, food is held as nectar, so a kind of madhur drab, and the wastage of food is considered as sin. That means it's a pap karma. So in India, but the challenge is like as per the data or as per our assessment, like almost 40% food is wasted, which is equivalent to almost 92,000 crore a year. And India grows more food, at the same time waste more, while more go hungry. Just I was listening from the previous speaker, and zero hunger and good nutrition have the power to empower people to take this go for a healthy life and a healthy family. So here we know it's important to understand that the impact of this food among the children, among the community, among the mothers. And we know, like the recent data, I'm just quoting the recent data of National Family Health Survey, it's 89% children between the age group of 6 months to 2 years, they don't get the adequate diet. It's a very, very big number, 89% children. This was 90% almost in the last NFHS data. But this 89%, it's highlighting a key gap in child nutrition. And NFHS has released this data and found that this much number of children are not having access or not receiving the minimum acceptable diet. So we know also this fact very well, that India's greatest national treasure is our people, is our children. And in the critical window of growth, their height, and the children are undernourished and not consuming the necessary the food, especially I can say the healthy food. And the recent data has also given the alarming sign, like almost 8% points rise in the fraction of children suffering from anemia. That means it has gone up from 59% to 67% if you compare from the previous National Family Health Survey data. So despite adequate food production, whereas that is there, and almost 190 million Indian remain unnourished. Moreover, it stands that every third malnourished child is Indian. So this food wastage is a serious concern for the development professionals, and especially the public health professional, as well as the organizations, as an individual also. So, and it's a different phases like harvesting, processing, packaging, transporting, then also the end use of the consumption at the household level, at the facility level. We heard from the midday meal, so even the other whether it's Anganwadi Kendra, midday meal, or at household level. And there are we have identified the challenges, like it's a tea consumption losses at various places, then the food wastage at household level. There is also a significant amount of food wastage at our homes because of many reasons, because of many, whether it's awareness, whether it's a correct information about a storage, supply chain. And as per the food waste report, recent report of last year 2021, it says that the 50 kgs of food is thrown away per person every year in Indian homes. So this is a big number. And this number is also giving lots of food for thoughts to each one of us, like how we can take this agenda forward. And also the supply chain management issue with some programs in the Indian food supply chain includes our inefficiency of the programs, lack of transportation, revenue, insufficient storage, and the facilities also, lack of comprehensive and accurate, I can say, the inventories. So these are the, I remember I started my career with USAID program when we were getting food from United States that was under the PL 480, and I was managing the supply of food to the Anganwadi Kendra. That I'm talking something around 94, 95. Like we used to provide the supplementary nutrition program and getting food from USAID and providing. So I remember how like the practices was it's a kind of from the Indian port to the Anganwadi center and the proper utilization and consumption at the household level, the storage, the utilization, the cooking, how the wastage can be reduced, how the first in first out system can be adhered by the storage store in charge, like this. So I started my career with that, and I have seen like how the value of the food at the community level, at the household level. And still Tata Trust in our program, we are trying to take this important concept in our engagement with the social safety nets schemes, like the midday meal program, then the take-home ration, also with working with the farmers, how we can train them for the proper like harvesting and also transportation, also the supply chain. At the same time, like the behavior change at system level, maybe Anganwadi Kendra, the ICDS, because they are providing this one of the largest program in the world, where the supplementary nutrition program is going for mothers, pregnant lactating mothers, as well as the children from 6 months to 6 years. So that's the very important platform we are having. Then the second is the midday meal, how the midday meal program can be implemented in a very, very different manner, where the storage, so that we can ensure the losses of food is not taking place. Then also at community level, the food bank concept, the edible foods should be made available every day for free, and at least for the last operating hours. So the food bank concept. Then also learning from the various international procedures, because lots of I remember the countries like France, Norway, and Denmark, they are having a very robust system to minimize the food losses. So getting all kinds of learns from there in order to check the spoilage and how to minimize. Then also the technology is very important. Technology investment for that the technology can adopted at every stage or the supply chain as well as the overcome and the same can overcome. So in this regard, we are working very closely with the farmers. We are very closely with the federations so that we can build their capacity and can minimize the losses also. And also to like the supply chain supply chain to improve with the technology, reducing the transit time in shipping the logistic. And but the most important component in our program operation is like how to build the capacity of the functionaries at every level, and how our functionaries are in a position to build the capacity of the our community members, our program participants, and the community members. So taking help from the panchayat, taking help from the Anganwadi workers, school teachers, so that we can ensure the same, ensure the losses can be reduced. So these are the key interventions we are having, and we are hopeful that this will make a change. But I can say like development is only possible if you can engage people. It's not only just the policy and procedure, how the same is going down the line with the people and they are understanding the importance of this. And that's why I started my opening remark, like we have to empower people in this way so that they can not only understand the importance, rather take this agenda forward at individual level, household. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sujit, for addressing food laws at various levels. Those were some really insightful facts that you mentioned, which really need to be worked upon. And the work that Tata Trust is doing is really appreciable. We're thankful for that. Now I would like to move on to Dr. Nilesh, and I would like to request you to shed some light on your organization's contribution in mitigating food loss and waste and how it is affecting the community.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me here today. The esteemed panelists prior to me have already touched upon major points. I would like to take this discussion forward by making 3 points. First is why we are having this discussion. We all know today the population of the world is around 7.5 billion or 750 crore. India stands at around 140 crore. In next 20 years, this is going to go up. The world population is going to go up to 9 billion or 900 crore. So we're going to add 150 crore in next 20 years as a world. Who's going to feed this world, right? And that is why sustainability in food, as right from growing all the way till prepared food, is going to be very, very important. Second is food wastage actually contributes a lot to the greenhouse gases, especially in terms of methane formation. So these are some of the key points why we should be discussing what we are discussing today. Second point is where are the problems and what could be the possible solution? Again, the esteemed panelists before me did address upon it. So right from post-harvest losses all the way to your transportation, storage, packaged food, processed food, to the ready-to-eat food like in the restaurants, each and everywhere the losses are happening. So there is no single point where huge losses are happening and it can be some kind of an intervention can brought in and these losses can be brought down. What we need is decentralized small challenges. So like small solutions. So for like post-harvest losses, you need to have the right pack houses, sorting, grading, cold storages, warehouses. In the transportation or the storage, you need to have the right vehicles, the reefer vans. Then in terms of processed food or finished food, you need to have the right right temperature control and so many other things. I would like to take this opportunity here to tell you that I also represent a lot of different food associations, and I can tell you a lot of these solutions are available under all our ICAR or even our CSR labs, the premier for food being CFTRI Mysore. A lot of small scale and easy solutions are available A lot of solutions are available from other research and academic institutes. A lot of simple machinery or packaging solution providers can also provide such solutions. So we don't always have to go for fancy stuff. With little implementation of technology, a lot of things can be achieved. Another small data point I'll give you here is supply chain, like my panelists prior to me also mentioned, is a key challenge in India and contributes a lot to food wastage. I can tell you that when you're buying something for 100 rupees, almost 23 rupees, so 23% is actually going for supply chain, be it backward linkage, forward linkage, first mile delivery, last mile delivery, storage, transport, whatever you name you want to give, almost 23% goes to the supply chain or the logistics cost. Whereas in the US, it's only 7%. So that's some kind of an inefficiency. Of course, being from a business background, I like inefficiencies because I see opportunities over there. And that's why you'll see a lot of the new age startups that have come up in this space of supply chain, right from farm to fork or farm to plate or whatever, first mile, last mile delivery, whatever name you want to give, right? So addressing problems at multiple levels and providing the decentralized and small solutions to those small and decentralized problems is the key. That's point 2. Point 3, and which is an ambitious point, and I would like to make it on this platform, is one of the key reasons why we are talking about food wastage, be it in terms of 30%, 40% post-harvest losses, or someone spoke about the food bank, means the cooked food which is made by the caterers or the hotels or the restaurants which are going waste. The key challenge for any food wastage is because of the mismatching of supply and demand. So if we can actually have a national agriculture policy across our country and figure out, okay, how much rice do we need as a country? Which state needs what amount of rice, in which month you need what amount of rice, and the best growers of rice in terms of yield can be allocated. Okay, Odisha or Punjab or whatever, south of India, these are the 3-4 states which will grow rice. Then we can think about certain other states which can grow wheat, certain other states which can grow sugarcane. I know it's an ambitious and probably a very bold thing to say, but having such kind of a national agriculture policy where the demand and the supply can actually be mapped, automatically the whole challenge of food wastage or food losses can go away. Hopefully in my lifetime, in next 20, 30, 40 years, I'm hoping that such a policy will actually be implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nilesh, for touching upon the solutions that can be brought at various level of food supply chain, and also touching upon the policy devising that can be done by the government. We'll come back to this again. Now I would like to invite Dr. Smriti to share her experience towards the fight against the issue of food loss and waste and the influential changes that you were able to brought in the food supply chain.
Thank you. Thank you, IOD, for inviting me. And it has been an eye-opener listening to all the speakers before me. Well, I really believe that whatever words could have said has been said. So going last, you know what I think I'll do? I will take the support of this 30-second video. It might look off topic. It's an activity. So everybody who's looking at the screen, disclaimer, please give attention, pay attention, because there will be an answer that you'll have to give, right? Namrata, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, okay. So what you're going to do is you will see, and you can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So it says, so what you are going to see is, and those of you who have seen the video, please bear with me. It's a 30-second exercise, but let's do this. I promise I'll make a point. So you will see two teams, and what you have to do is simple, as instruction is there on your screen, that please count the number of times the players who are wearing white jerseys, they pass the ball. Okay, simple. And whatever your count is, just put it on the chat. Namrata is looking at the chat. So Namrata, you can kind of, see, and then we'll go from there. Ready? Okay, I'm going to play this now. All right. So I'll pause for 5 seconds, and Namrata, tell me if you're seeing. I can't see the chat really, but if you are seeing the responses. 10 seconds and 10 seconds only. Namrata, are there any responses? My panelists, I think we have gagged everybody else. They have to seek permission, I think, to speak. But my panelists, if you can come up with your answers if you want to, till the time everybody else is typing. Oh, I can see the chat also though. Okay, we have some responses coming in. And so the correct answer is 16 passes, right? Okay. Sorry. So let me just stop doing this. Okay. So somebody, I mean, you must have gone whatever. So I have a basic doctorate research degree. So plus minus 10% error, fine. If it was 16, somebody got 14, somebody got 18, it's fine, whatever. But let me ask you this. There were certain other things that were also happening on the screen while we were counting. And I'm going to call out these few things that were happening. And all of you can just raise your hands. I hope all of you can at least use the reaction button to say if you noticed this. Tell me how many of you noticed there was a Mr. Gorilla who came in the middle. Any hands raised? Namrata saw it. Okay. Okay, Akhilesh saw it. Okay, fine. Let me keep adding the questions. Fine. And then there were some players who left the team. A black team player left the team. Okay, some of you got that. Then the colors of the curtains changed. Did you guys notice it? Okay. So Namrata is shaking her head. So fine. So some of you noticed, I mean, clearly this bunch is much more observant and more attentive than me. I did not notice much when I saw it the first time. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is, while we are focusing, and this is a standard video, it has been used in many ways. I use this video to make a point of being cognizant of the fact that while we are focusing on one thing, there are other things that might be happening in the same plot, in the same landscape, that might skip our attention, because clearly our brains are wired that way, and then we are focusing on a particular phenomena. Why I'm making this point is, see, I'm looking at this topic from the various hats that I have, maybe the hat of a researcher, definitely the hat of a nutrition professional. So from the hunger and malnutrition, that side, which is very closely tied to the food waste. But of whatever we have heard from all the speakers, the problem is quite large. The scale of the problem is quite large, and it is quite nuanced. Now, food, like nutrition, is one area that touches everybody, whether you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, or you run an NGO or an office. You are dealing with food, right? Personally, if you're human, even non-human, you are dealing with food. So the point that I wanted to make by showing you this video is that something I called a missed opportunities cognizant mindset, which is the MOC mindset, which is a philosophy that I coined when I was writing my book of last 20 years of the projects that I have led in nutrition research and implementation research, which says that if you are cognizant of the fact that whatever you are working on, there might be, you can't give attention to everything, right? But which kind of brings to the fact the value of working together. Dr. Ranjan said multi-stakeholder approaches are required, right? Also, Pradeep Ji said that, you know, cumulative, and even Dr. Lele, you made this point that these cumulative gains, these smaller kind of gains, the cumulative effect is sometimes quite significant, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, and basically I'm trying to get an extrapolation of the case studies from the MOC mindset that I have jotted down in my book of the projects that I have led, is where are the opportunities and also the missed opportunities for impact if you're a school, if you're an NGO, if you're an office, if you're a corporate, your landscape, what is happening to the food waste there. I think those we all, whichever hat we kind of wear, the statistics that we have heard, India grows more, is more undernourished, and it wastes more. I think action at all levels can kind of impact. So I wish that each one of us, from policymakers to implementers to researchers, we do put in on this lens of an MOC mindset and see and really examine our landscape, our own landscape. Let's start with our own landscape, whether we have 500 offices or we employ thousands of people or we employ a handful of people. I think each one of these landscapes has a potential for at least minimizing the loss at the consumption level, at least. So that is one point that I wanted to make. Since the problem is large, finding opportunities of action and impact there. That is the first point that I wanted to make, and the point why I showed you this video. I don't want to take a lot of time. Otherwise, I generally rewind the video and show all the three things that happened, but this video is available on YouTube. I didn't create it, so you can look at it. There are two more points that I want to make. One of the first of which is, when I say opportunities, those opportunities should be informed opportunities of what I have kind of understood and read on the subject is, there are still a lot of understanding gaps of action that could help in actually looking at the opportunities at the right place. So what interventions work, where they work, is the food loss. So we talked about the consumption, but I was reading a McKinsey report that says 60% of the loss happens before it reaches the table, not at household. Now, there also where the loss happens more clearly, the products requiring cold chain obviously are more susceptible to losses. So the fruits and vegetables. So where are those hotspots where these opportunities should be consciously created? I think that is one point. And the point I'm trying to make through this is that there is definitely a need to put this agenda at the research to look at this agenda from a research and action research lens at all levels. What works? What is the gender nuances? What is the social nuances to this a problem of food waste? I think putting a research lens to it, but a research lens not just for big papers, but for action-oriented research. And the last point, actually, this is a suggestion. I happened to be at the IOD annual convention that happened, I think, a couple of days ago in Delhi. And, ESG is the boardroom topic now that we all know. And we know that food wastage is, and Dr. Lele also kind of mentioned that it has environmental repercussions, right? So, since IOD is organizing this, I thought I'll kind of, at the top of my head, the suggestions that came to my mind were IOD organizations like IOD are placed at a unique kind of interface and a position to create platforms and to create resources that can impact impact this agenda, creating linkages between food waste policies, portion control policies with with the E and the S, inside the ESG. I've seen corporates approach the portion control at their lunchtime in cafeteria. I'm associated with an organization, it's an NGO called Arogya World, and they work with corporates for healthy workplace kind of practices. And there are these plates which are kind of slotted that have portion control. So it kind of helps to kind of prevent the NCDs because of the sedentary lifestyle and all that, the diabetes and hypertension and all those lifestyle problems by checking how much you're eating. But on the other hand, it does kind of help in preventing food waste as well, right? If you're taking so small efforts like this. I was talking to this principal in school. I was at a panel, I think at SOCHAM. There I'm leading this panel called Forum Against Malnutrition, and we're talking to this principal, and they have school audits, food audits in the school. So and the last point and the suggestion that I wanted to make, especially for IOD, again at that convention, a book was released, and I forget the name of the gentleman, and basically it was an IOD effort, and it was on leadership principles for boardrooms or leadership lessons or something. I was thinking IOD could, kind of invest in resources on best practices to curb food waste for schools, for corporates, for these tangible things that can be done. So these are the things. I don't want to share more statistics. I think whatever had to be done had to be said has been said. But in summary, my points would be: let's look for opportunities, not the obvious one, in addition to the obvious ones, the missed opportunities of whatever we can do. Let's not trivialize, let's understand the importance of those cumulative gains that each impact can make. And let's, for IOD to use their unique position to really address the agenda and make people see these linkages at a higher level. So I think I'll finish my address here, and over to you, Namrata.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smriti. Thank you for sharing such an interesting video and an interesting perspective on how we can recognize the problems. And your suggestions were really insightful as well. So with the rising purchasing power and consumer culture evolution, one common trend that we see these days is excessive purchasing of edible items that mostly go to waste. So how can we change these trends in consumption, catering to wastage, and how can we instill the respect for food and what role education really plays in that? Mr. Das, I would like to know your take on this.
Yeah, it's an interesting point what you're saying. Yes, over hoarding of the raw materials or the food to be consumed. Yes, it will be definitely. This is a very big contributor to distributing, disturbing the overall balance and equal distribution of the food, and that is a contributor. I would rather go off to the Upanishadic statement. I feel that should be considered in solving this problem, because it is said, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkintyam jagatyam jagat. So Ishavasyam, the world is created by the Lord, Isha, Lord himself, and tena tyaktena bunjita means everybody, we are all sons of God, so we have a right to enjoy his property as per my capacity, and I'm allowed. So how do I stop this? First is that in my consciousness, individually at an individual level, one should be educated to see that greed should not override your especially in food. Greed should not override your and lead to a hoarding tendency. That should be at an individual level I'm speaking of. And at another level, many times this at a further aspect of this is that as a community as a whole should imbibe this value that I should not be greedy. I should be fixed on my need. Taking my need is not wrong. It is, I'm not transgressing the Lord's directions. But if I take my need, then because Lord is maintaining me, I'll be happy. So that consciousness is most important. That should be educated to everyone. I feel that is what is required, and greed is okay, greed is not okay, need is okay, fulfilling my need. That should be the message, I feel.
Thank you for relating it to the Indian scriptures. That was nicely put. I would like to come to Mr. Ranjan. So, since you touched upon the issues at various food supply chain levels, so what is your expert suggestion for the production sector and the retail sector on how they can mitigate the losses?
So this is one of the areas where lots of efforts are already going on, but lots of efforts are also needed. Especially the technology can play an important role here. Here, the indenting, how the going down the line, and the data culture, like data culture, how we can strengthen, improve the data culture, so that the supply chain can be strengthened, and at the same time the losses can also be minimized. And by this way, the distribution will also be like it should not be confined to only one geography or one pockets. Rather, that will be a kind of to the entire catchment area. So by this way, like Tata Trust is also working with the farmers as well as at the same time with the various district and state level authorities, and trying to build not only the capacity, rather providing the technology support also to handle this situation.
So, since not every consumer is aware of the sheer amount of waste that is happening at various levels of food production, that is during harvesting, packaging, and transportation. So, like, where do you think the most amount of food is wasted, and how exactly it is trying to be optimized? I would like to continue with Mr. Ranjan, according to what you addressed right now.
Okay, you are asking to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, if you, based on my experience, the West is mostly like we find in the two places. One is the, when we are producing the food, and the quality part, the assessment, the assurance, the quality assessment, that time the food wastage is very, very high. At the same time, at household level, the food wastage at individual level, family level, is also very high because of so many reasons. Like in our society, in our culture, taste is also very, very important. I'm having experience from the social safety nets program, say ICDS, midday meal, or the PDS and all. The food which is going from the say Anganwadi center or the schools, and the food is reaching out to the children and the mothers, and here is the test, whether it's a kind of centralized, whether it's a decentralized model. Food is getting prepared at community level. It matters a lot, and that's why the waste or the food loss is very, very high at that level. And at the same time, like the understanding at the family level, here that's why I mentioned the behavior change. The behavior change level, the multi-sectoral approach, then how the agriculture, the different development programs, the supply chain, how the technology can play an important role. But the awareness at the service providers level, awareness, behavior change at community level is very, very important. And that's why the entire program, like say for supplementary nutrition program of ICDS, one of the largest in the country, I think, play an important role. Not only the provide the food, rather the storage, the safety, the eat right, then the eat safety, eat like at community level, how they can understand the importance. And decentralized model can play an important role here to understand the local test, local acceptance, preference. So these are the efforts we all are making, so that the food is very, very personal and important thing for any individual. So how that will be acceptable, not only just accessible and utilization, rather acceptability is important.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your views.
And Namrata, before you get to the next question, if I may just add to what Dr. Ranjan
Sure,
was saying, so like I was quoting this McKinsey report, right? It says 60% of the food loss happens, from production, in the production kind of stages of the value chain before it comes to the consumption level. While all of that, so it's clear that losses, if we were to kind of divide the value chain into two parts, one is before it enters the consumption kind of table, and then is after that, right? And obviously there are various stages that Dr. Ranjan was saying in the supply chain. Irrespective of where the bulk is, I think what would be of value is of identifying the low-hanging fruits, while everything needs to be fixed, right? But I think it is of value to identify the low-hanging fruits where by taking or promoting or advocating for small, doable, tangible steps, whether they are, and I think those the consumption part, although behavior change is a challenge, but there are certain kind of behaviors that can be taken up, like I was saying, in the organized kind of a regime where people are, where they live, where they study, where they work. All these places can be used to kind of, at least address that behavior change, and put in those practices that, that, like, for example, what I was saying, food audit. So what I'm trying to say is, irrespective of whether we say a lot happens before it comes here, and there are the changes that might be required might be more resource intensive. While everything is needed, I would say it's a good thing to identify the low-hanging fruits and just get on with it, to find the bright spots and kind of see where the cost-benefit analysis obviously is kind of favorable, and try and act there. So I just wanted to, while Dr. Ranjan, you were saying, I thought I'll just put in those points.
Thank you very much. Thanks for adding this point. Thank you.
Over to you,
Dr.
Namrata. I thought you were about to ask the next question. I stopped you.
That's not an issue. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that, Dr. Power. So, now I would like to ask Dr. Lele, like, since you have touched upon the policies that government should be working on, so has this problem led to the formation of any policies or governance procedures in the food industry yet? And if there are, can you mention and name a few of them?
Yeah, sure. So again, I would like to say 3 points. One is, in fact, today only I was with Sri Pawan Kumar Agarwal, who was the former CEO of FSSAI, and we were discussing on food literacy. So we all talk about literacy in general, or literacy rate. We're nowadays talking about financial literacy, but nobody's really talking about food literacy. Of course, nutrition, and there are so many aspects that can be covered. But one aspect should be covered is like, what pains or what process does the farmer actually go through to grow that we end up eating? Once you realize that, you will never waste food, right? Secondly, like I grew up in the mindset, in a family where if it is in your plate, you have to eat it, or just don't take it in your plate. Right? So that is something that we need to inculcate in our next generation, and in the children, our children and our next generation. Third thing is, again, I'll tell from my experience. I used to do this farm to fork kind of or farm to market, the customer kind of initiative that the government of Maharashtra has to run. And I realized that in this whole fruit vegetable kind of space, especially, like our father of nation Mahatma Gandhi ji has said, that there is enough for everybody's need, but there is not enough for everybody's greed. So we all have to understand this aspect, what is happening is because of few people's greed, either the farmers are not getting the right price, or the consumers are ending up paying an exorbitant price for this. So if this is addressed, a lot of these challenges can actually be eliminated. Since the question that you have asked, I will also like to answer that. I know during Pawanji's tenure, there was a move for, of course, Eat Right India versus Brainchild, creating a food bank, or the excess food that is created at the caterers or the weddings or the hotels is something, and then mapping it up to homeless people, or mapping it up to people who are not finding enough food. All of these initiatives were done. But I'm a firm believer that it is not always the government's job to do anything. We have that mindset, अरे सरकार मेरे लिए क्या कर रही है? सरकार हमारे लिए बहुत कुछ कर रही है, but that should not be our mindset. Our mindset should be हम सरकार के लिए या हम society के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं, and we should all take an initiative, whatever small it could be. Like I always believe, if I can impact 100 people around me, and 1 crore people do that, 100 crore people will be addressed, right? So we have to think that way. Small changes can bring about a whole change in our country. So that's from my side.
Thank you so much for your views. Now I would like to move to Dr. Pawar, and this is the last question that I have. So nowadays we see that every fruit, vegetable or grain is available all seasons. So in one way it is ensuring the food security, but it is also indirectly impacting the environment, leading to climate change. So what is your take on that?
No, definitely. So let me answer this question from two lenses. One is of a nutritionist's kind of lens, drawing on my degree, doctorate of nutrition, and other is from the environment and from the food sustainability, sustainable food systems kind of lens. So definitely, if you see in terms of from the nutritional angle, the seasonal fruits, the local fruits are more, are kind of advocated for consumption from their nutritional content or nutritional quality perspective, right? So that is definitely, it goes, there is no two ways about it. And there is a clear advocacy from the nutrition science side that you should have those seasonal fruits, right? You can look at it from the social economic angle as well. Obviously, the fruits that are in season, they would be economically friendly. So, apart from all the fads that go around, that is what is advocated from the nutritional science side. Now, from the environmental footprint side as well, if you look at, and I was looking at what WHO has given a very, they are very clear 5-6 things that they have said, some 6-7 things that what you can do. Like Dr. Lele was saying, if we do all these things, we can make an impact together. And one of the points is to eat locally available seasonal fruits, and that is more from the environmental side of it. So I think a lot of, nutrition and food are, I think, the most closely linked, right? Food provides nutrition, right? So I think this kind of awareness and education on what to eat when is kind of and kind of debunking the myths that, or the fads that are going around, would go a long way in kind of solving this problem and bringing down the carbon footprint and bringing down the greenhouse and all. So basically establishing a sustainable eating ecosystem is, so no two ways about it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing about the sustainable practices that we all should adopt to do our individual bit in reducing the food loss and waste, at least at our ends. So now, thank you to all the panelists. And now I would like to invite Mr. Reggie Matthew to present the vote of thanks.
Yeah, very good afternoon, rather late good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My responsibility to especially thanks all of you, all this distinguished panelists, starting from Mr. Pradeep Chaturvedi, who is the Vice President of IOD Foundation, and Mr. Bharat Shah Dasa, the National President and Trustee of Akshay Patra Foundation, Dr. Sujit Ranjan, who is the Associate Director of Tata Trust, and Dr. Smriti Pawar, who is the Senior Consultant and Public Health Nutritionist, Dr. Nilesh Lilly, Founder and MD, Extron Food Bio Advisors Private Limited, and my colleague Namrata. Our sincere gratitude and thanks for spending your valuable times for this noble cause, which the topic what we are discussing today, that is awareness on food loss and waste. Lot of discussion has been held and lot of ideas has been shared, and insight your discussion has been shared with all this distinguished audience. And some of the one I wanted to highlight, as one of the speakers said, 60% of the income which has come from the agriculture, only from the farmers, that needs to be increased. And food waste affecting the climate change, which is also very concerned about all of us. And government may come out with the policy on food waste and maybe some reward those who are controlling it. And Dr. Smriti, statistically, and some video has been shown, it was very interesting. And also Dr. Sujit Ranjan has really talk about the insight, what we need to be done, what is to be done. So all this detailed panel discussion has been good. I think it's everyone enjoyed it and value it for the time that we have spent. Apart from that, what IOD Foundation is actually only a 3 years old organization. Actually, we have just started during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we have served more than lakhs peoples, providing food. Of course, that is with the support of Akshaya Patra. I would personally thanks Mr. Dasa for providing the support for IOD Foundation. And throughout the COVID time, we able to provide the food with the support of Akshaya Patra. And also we have done vaccinations and the COVID check and the medical support and the skill development programs. It's continued to be doing it. And our main focus now is on basically the skill development program and the financial literacy program for the underprivileged women, and of course health. And we have signed up a partnership with the NIXI, that is a National Exchange Internet, that is a government PSU, and GAIL. And we are also going to have a partnership with St. Stephen College. I request all of you to support for the IOD's Foundation's missions, and look forward to seeing all your support for our mission. Jointly, we can do a huge work for the development of the country and the people who really need it. For this word, my sincere gratitude and thanks to all of you once again on behalf of IOD Foundation. Thank you very much. Over to Namrata. And before that, I wanted to request one of my colleagues to show if there are few minutes IOD Foundation video about the activities so far.
As COVID continues to plague the nation, healthcare has become paramount. To ensure no Indian is left behind in accessing quality healthcare, IOD Foundation on September 26, 2021 conducted a free medical health checkup, blood donation camp, and distributed medical equipment support for the underprivileged.
We have served more than 1 lakh people lunch in front of the AIMS gate and Sangam Vihar, and also part of the Ghaziabad. We are providing lunch and dinner both.
Providing food kits, providing medical aid, providing vaccination support. These are the kind of activities they have been doing. And naturally, this particular event flows from that in the context of the pandemic and other diseases that are coming, and especially which impact on the lives of the poor and even the middle class people. They are rendered to poverty. And that is why this event is very important and very unique, because so many other organizations have also come forward to associate themselves with this event.
The first of many such initiatives, the IOD Foundation aims to provide long-term and continued help to care for and support the underprivileged and help positively impact their lives.
Namrata, over to you.
So these were the few activities that we have done in the past, and we really appreciate your support for the future activities that we are planning to do in the area of skill development, food and health sector. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.